Just trying to get a framework around something.
So let's do this. Okay. 'Cause I think there's consensus that we want to gather some information from our community before we figure out whether we should move forward, and if we should, how. And I think that's what I've heard from everyone. The folks on the policy committee, you've all shown interest, but it's a standing committee, shown some interest. Let's utilize that group as kind of a brainstorming group with me about how we can gather information, from our community. We'll bring those ideas back to the board. I'll bring those ideas back to the board. We'll put them in place. I'll start to gather some information, and at some point I'll come back again and say, this is what I've discovered. It's essentially an extension of the listening tour that I went on my first year, but being much more community focused than I was able to.
I guess I'll just interject to
Yeah.
clarify what I think I'd like to see is, first of all, to have our chief school officer and the administrative team address these things so that we get some clear items identified. Once we've done that and they feel that they've exhausted most of those, come back and have a discussion with the full board, not a report per se. Not just have our superintendent do a report or a few people. All the administrative team, we can have, a special session and we can have a discussion with that. Then, after that point, I think we could identify some items that we feel are important, and Lisa hit on, with the business community and what they would like to see our students come out and be able to do at that point. We just had a nice article about writing checks and so on, some basic things you need in life. These are things, then we can go to phase 2 and start to incorporate some of them and people from the community into that. So, we could build on this, but I think we need a format first, or get a rough idea of what we would like our students to look like. I'm in education for over 30 years, and I can't sit here and tell you what I think what a student should look like. I don't have any idea. And I think that we need input from several people and several ideas. So that's what I think would be effective. Now it's up to Mr. Certisio how he wishes to attach this, or attack it, not attach it.
That's really connected with Ms. Porter's question from
Yeah.
earlier regarding what kind of supports are we building in through the budget. So some of the questions that you just posed are going to be answered over the next several weeks, the next couple of months, in terms of what our internal assessment is, what our needs are.
Right.
And you heard MTSS over and over again. And I think we have a pretty good handle on how to move forward, assuming support through the budgetary process at the middle level. But we need to do some more work at the high school level on that. And that would, to be clear, it's not as easy model to incorporate into a high school. All right, and you heard from our presentation that we're rocking and rolling at the elementary level in that process. And we are. I'm very happy with that. So that internal assessment is ongoing. We just really haven't formalized it and vocalized it with the board. Good point.
Correct.
Good point.
So we'll wait to hear from Mr. Certisio.
And policy, and the organized.
I don't think I heard that.
I don't know what to put in my notes. I'm getting close.
I don't think I heard
Have
that.
fun next Friday morning.
Part of agenda meetings. So what do you got for us?
What do I have for it?
No,
Is that a
I mean,
rhetorical question?
Yes.
or-
Yeah, no, that's gonna be that's gonna be the question at the agenda meeting, so what do you have for the board at our next meeting or whatever meeting?
I can handle that question.
Yeah, that's cool.
I can handle that question.
Okay, everybody good then? At least that moves us someplace? Okay,
We're
cool.
inching forward there. Good. Good discussion.
That's great. No, that's helpful. Okay, so then, we've reserved this time to hear comments from the audience. Those wishing to address the board are asked to stand, give their name and address, limit their comments to 5 minutes or less per individual or group. Audience members seeking a response should complete a board correspondence sheet and return that to Ms. Slagle. Anyone wish to address the board on any item at all? Yes.
Good evening, I'm John Billow. I have 4 children in the district. Me saying anything tonight has the virtue of being timely. It lacks just pretty much every other virtue. I have not spoken to administration about this. I have not spoken to anyone other than my wife and a couple of my kids today. I've done no investigation, and I don't completely understand the policy, but nonetheless timely. Today there was an event in our school district. I don't know whether it was discussed already today or not. I'm sorry, I walked in late after dropping off kids for the concert. I don't wish to discuss the matter in any detail because, of course, I lack details. I do know that today my 2 middle school children were scared. Okay, there was an event. It did not appear, from what I understand, that this event endangered any of the children or that there was any significant disruption. But the way that it was communicated perhaps lacked a little bit of clarity. And one of my daughters was in a gym class, coincidentally with my brother as the teacher. And my brother did everything he could, I'm sure, to make sure that the kids weren't scared. But nonetheless, he had to say, everybody into the shower right now. And they hid in the shower for some period of time today. Now, I understand that you have competing interests. I understand that you're trying to keep our children safe, and I respect it, and I thank you for that. But perhaps a little bit better communication, and perhaps there has to be a difference between everything is perfect and run and hide. Okay, if there's a run and hide situation, I want you to tell my kids and all these kids to run and hide. I'm okay with that. But if there isn't a run and hide situation going on, if it's something else, something serious, I understand, and something that we have to attend to, of course, but not a run and hide. I think there has to be some other gradation, and I think we have to communicate better with our teachers. I have not spoken to my brother about this in any way, shape, or form, at least not yet. But I think that from what my children knew, the teachers didn't know what was going on. Maybe to a certain extent that's acceptable and understandable in an emergency, but my children, who are not especially prone to being anxious, at least not more so than any other kids, I suspect, they were nervous today. They were scared, in fact. And maybe we need to manage that with a little bit more delicacy. We live in a very difficult time, a very scary time, and you have an awesome responsibility on your shoulders, which I respect. But I also think we have to be careful not to terrify our kids unnecessarily. If you could look into it as board, if I was a board member, I would want to know about it in a timely fashion, and I'd want to know whether there was something we could do better, and thus I'm bringing it to your attention instead of being at the middle school musical tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to address the board on any item? And seeing no one, I'll close that. And Mr. Certisio, just to make sure you have Mr. Gallo's contact information and so on, we'll just have you complete one of those forms just to make sure that we have everything we need to make sure you're contacted.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Excellent. Okay, so the next regular meeting of the Board of Education, it'll be held March 12th at 6 p.m. in the high school library. We also received a letter from Gregory Cole regarding the upcoming BOCES Board of Education election, and if you want a copy of that, we'll be happy to provide that to you. Then, who it was that mentioned, Mr. Jambrone, I think, very nice article about Laura DePue in the Observer relative to the work she's doing on financial intelligence, I'll call it, for our kids. It's really wonderful. Mr. Certisio, anything?
Yeah, a number of things. First off, unfortunately, our boys basketball team, the season has ended. We lost 53-46. Ms. Piper reported back that it was a real nail-biter, so I'm sure there's a lot of heavy hearts out there. Thank you to our Student Services Group for their presentation tonight. I work very closely with these folks, and they do a really fantastic job. They absolutely will be included in our conversation, because if anyone has their finger on the pulse of this district, it's those fine folks. Thank you, Mr. Forbes. I know we razzed you a little bit about jazzing up your presentation, but your work is spot on, and I really appreciate it. And I appreciate that you left 16 slides in your office. You can bring those home and look at them.
I have a larger one.
I know, well, you had a larger one, it's been confiscated. I want to let the board know that I will be in Albany for a NISCUS conference Sunday through Tuesday, and hope to meet with our representatives and advocate for some, not only funding, but also some mandate relief for schools. And then I have this paragraph I want to read to you. A quick update on our school calendar in regards to the number of snow, wind, and water closures we've had this year. We're up to 5 days. We are required to have a minimum of 180 days of instruction, which is inclusive of our 4 staff development days. We will be utilizing the give back days as planned. It's May 22nd, 23rd, and 24th, and those will be instructional days. That'll bring us up to 181, so we're razor thin there. If we have additional closure days, we will first recapture March 18th, followed by days in April break. I think it's important that I collaborate with the leadership management team about the specific days in April if we need them. Hopefully we won't need them. And also I want to offer some clarification about some comments from our governor. School districts can apply for a waiver from the state education department when their days of enrollment or days of instruction drops below 180 days. Okay. However, regardless of what was stated, a waiver is only accessible after a district recaptures all of its vacation or recess days and is thus left with no other option. So we would have to use the 2 weeks, or roughly thereabouts in April. We'd have to use that March date, and then we can apply for a waiver.
So if we took 1 week of break in April and 1 week in February when we have all these snow days, we would alleviate a lot of that.
As long as our community is okay with us flexing that week based on Mr. Forbes' weather forecast.
I just want to interject one more thing. I noticed on the TV broadcast, when Como was in Buffalo, he gave them a day, forgiveness or whatever, with the State Ed Department of Education, that day was omitted. Is that affect us?
That's exactly what
You're getting to.
I'm getting. No, that's what I got to, is that he said that,
Yes,
but,
okay.
and it's that but. It's if you've used all your other days, we're gonna give you a waiver. So the commissioner came out with some clarification for us today.
There's a big misunderstanding because of the way he presented it. Everybody was thinking, oh, it's a free day because we're all gonna get it back, but this is just stating something that's already been in the regulations
On the
anyway.
newscast, that's exactly what it was stated.
So, it's,
Forgiven.
Mr. Sortizio, is there clarification to our faculty and staff about that? Because I heard a lot about, a lot of that reaction from faculty and staff that, it was kind of this free day. So I think it's great clarification, and it was a question that I had, but I don't know if it makes sense to have some communication to our staff, or if we, we wait for that, additional day or 2 days to go before, but to manage expectations, because I think there's a lot of misunderstanding out there.
Okay, thank you for that. And that had not gotten to me, so we will work on communicating with the staff about what reality really is.
I think that would be
The
helpful
community
if
as
we
well.
get there. I think the community,
me too, everybody does it the same
people
thing.
were talking about it on Monday. I was, seeing, talking to people, and everybody was like, oh, we got a waiver for
Yep.
today. It doesn't, it's not counting against us.
It does it count against us yet, yes or no? What the question is, it doesn't add a day back. So we're at 181. If we got a waiver, if the governor was correct in his presentation, and it didn't count against us, we'd be at 182. We only get an issue when it comes to state aid when we go below 180.
Right.
Okay. The good news is we have days that we can recapture if the month of March is offered. So,
But I think that's the expectation, is that we don't need to recapture those days. So,
well, not the April days, and we never have, we do not currently have a plan for the April days. When we build the school calendar, we have a plan for those May days. So I'm confident the staff understands each time we take a snow day or a closure day, whatever it is, it takes one of those days away in May. Their question might be, we took 2 more, and I've already met with the labor management group about, do we need to recapture that March 18th day? And I've done some work on that as well. I've talked with our superintendents, I've talked to the district superintendent, and the question that came back to me is, if you're safe in terms of your state aid days, and you don't have any contractual language that insists on a certain number of days, then they're advising against recapturing that. Because we've been doing it just because we could, not because we really need it.
Ms. Gaginshats, anything? No? Ms. Powell? Mr. Aldridge? Mr. Forster?
I have to put a plug in for something that's local. There's a wonderful play that's going on right now at SUNY Fredonia called Antigone. And Mr. Noah Ellman happens to be the lead in the play. Absolutely fantastic, and the amount of words that they say in this play is amazing, and that he has to learn was just fantastic. So, if you have time, they're showing it again.
Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 7:30. And Mr. Forster's son is playing the page to My King, so we get to work together a lot. So come see it.
What theater?
The Bartlett Theater, yes.
Thank you.
That's great. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, wonderful. Mr. Hawk?
Nothing.
No? Mr. Jamtron?
Well, yeah, I'm happy that I see that our April vacation is still basically intact, because I was hoping to go to Disney World. Purchase I had with years from one of my past driver ed students. It seems like when he heads down there, he ends up in the wrong place.
Touche.
Hey, Ms. Trump, we're going to have that.
Well, the All Band concert is tonight as we speak. Our All String concert will be Thursday night at 7. Project No was here this last week working with our 5th grade students. And this Friday is our spelling bee. We're excited about that.
That's great. Mr. Forbes? No? And Ms. Farrell? Ms. Slagle, anything? Excellent. And then, okay, we don't have anything else, so use a motion to adjourn.
Did you do announcements?
Oh,
Did you do that one? Can I add something on?
you
Just, I apologize. March 12th, at our next meeting, just so the board members are aware, and Ms. Slagle's aware, we will have some super eval training. That's the tool you're going to use to evaluate. Some of the good news is that they've added a new component where the superintendent, secretary, and district clerk can be provided access, essentially to be assistive in the gathering of information that you have to do, but also for any board members that need some help.
That's great. Excellent. Thanks for arranging that. Okay, if there's nothing else, then I need a motion to adjourn. Ms. Gaginshats and a second by Ms. Paul Fortna. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned. Thanks so much, everyone.